Angkor's forgotten geometry. Cosmic alignment revealed the sophisticated geometric principles embedded within Angkor's architecture are explored, revealing a cosmic alignment that was intentionally integrated by its ancient builders. This video delves into how these forgotten mathematical and astronomical understandings informed the very structure of these magnificent temples. What if the builders of Angkor Wat weren't just constructing temples, but encoding a secret message about the cosmos into stone? For centuries, the intricate geometry of Angkor has baffled experts. But what if it's more than just beautiful architecture? What if it's a forgotten map to the stars, aligning with a cosmic blueprint? Imagine stepping back in time, not to a simple ancient city, but to a vast, meticulously planned celestial machine. The true genius of Angkor's architects lies hidden in plain sight, embedded within its very foundations. Prepare to discover the jaw-dropping cosmic alignment that makes Angkor not just a wonder of the world, but a monumental astronomical marvel. You think you know Angkor? Think again. Beyond the towering spires and intricate carvings lies a secret so profound, it redefines our understanding of ancient intelligence. We're about to uncover the forgotten mathematical and astronomical principles that transformed Angkor's temples into more than just buildings. They were cosmic instruments. Are you ready to see Angkor as never before, in the crimson glow of dawn? Stone towers rise from the jungle canopy, the immense form of Angkor Wat becoming visible as sunlight spills across ancient courtyards and reflecting pools. Seen from above, every line and shadow converges with deliberate symmetry. Yet, as magnificent as these scenes are, a bigger question emerges. Is there more to these stones than meets the eye? At first glance, Angkor Wat is an architectural marvel, a vast temple complex, the largest religious monument in the world, built by the Khmer Empire in the early 12th century. Its spires climb skyward, and its galleries are crowded with exquisite carvings. Tourists marvel at the scale, the artistry, the way sandstone seems almost to glow in the morning light. But for centuries, scholars, explorers, and scientists have wondered whether Angkor's grandeur hides an even deeper purpose. What if this is not just a temple, but a masterwork of sacred engineering, a blueprint of the cosmos itself? The layout of Angkor is no accident. Each axis, each moat, each cluster of shrines follows an exacting plan. When researchers mapped Angkor's vast site, something extraordinary emerged. The orientation of Angkor Wat is precisely aligned to the Western rarity in Khmer temples, typically built facing east. Scholars now believe this was no mistake. The architects intended Angkor Wat as a monument to Vishnu, the Hindu god associated with the West. Every avenue and shrine within the complex echoes this cosmological principle. But Angkor's cosmic blueprint stretches even further. The proportional relationships between courtyards, walls, and towers correspond uncannily with ancient measurements of time such as cycles of the Hindu Yuga, vast epochs that define world history. Some towers rise in heights mirroring the mythical Mount Meru, the center of the universe in both Hindu and Buddhist tradition. This was more than religion or ritual, it was science, mathematics, and cosmic ambition fused into stone. The Khmer architects were mathematicians and astronomers as well as artisans, their calculations grounded in centuries of observation. Carved reliefs along the gallery walls don't just depict gods and kings, but celestial events, eclipses, solstices, planetary alignments. The Grand Moat, a seeming defensive feature, also represents the cosmic ocean enveloping Mount Meru, the source of all creation. Angkor, then, is a model of the universe rendered in stone, intended to bridge the earthly and the eternal. It stands as a testament to an ancient Cambodian civilization whose gaze extended far beyond the horizon, striving to align their mightiest monument with the harmonies of the heavens. This is Angkor's hidden blueprint, waiting to be unveiled. Lines are everywhere etched in stone, traced in shadow, carved across the earth and sky. At Angkor, the great temple city in the heart of Cambodia, these lines are abundant, speaking a language older than history. As we move closer, architectural details reveal themselves. Doorways framed by repeating lotus motifs, corridors stretching in mathematically precise intervals, and towers whose shapes seem to mirror the geometry of the heavens. Zoom in on a stone lintel, and you'll notice a pattern repeating with uncanny regularity, a rhythm echoing through pillars, stairways, and balustrades. Pan up, and vast avenues extend straight as arrows for hundreds of meters, seemingly inviting the morning light. These are not the random flourishes of ancient artisans. Instead, they form a deliberate code, one that turns geometry into something sacred. This is the world of sacred geometry, where mathematics becomes a vessel for meaning. Ancient cultures, from Egypt to Mesopotamia, saw geometry not only as a tool for construction, but as a bridge between Earth and cosmos. Angkor is a masterpiece of this philosophy. Its temples, moats, and bridges were designed according to principles that connect the material and divine. Walk through the galleries of Angkor Wat at sunrise, and you find that its central axis points precisely west, an orientation aligning not just with the cardinal points, but with the journey of the sun at the spring and autumn equinoxes. At specific times of year, shadows and light trace out corridors and chambers, illuminating carvings deep within sanctuaries. Animated lines sweep over temple plans, revealing how axes point to the horizon where the sun rises or sets on solstice and equinox, a cosmic clock built in stone. But the architects of Angkor aimed higher still. Look up the towers of Angkor. What were purposefully arranged to reflect the central stars of the constellation Draco as they appeared in the 12th century. During the equinox, the moon and select stars rise in direct alignment with the temple's main causeway, a phenomenon scholars have traced with star maps and computer reconstructions. The temple becomes a map not just for pilgrims, but for the heavens themselves. Every pattern, every angle, every repeated motif threads together architecture and astronomy. The city's water reservoirs, or beres, align with distant peaks and celestial events. From above, these features form geometric grids, alluding to the mythic Mount Meru at the universe's heart and to the cycles of time measured by rising stars. The language of lines and stars is a conversation between ground and sky, between what is built and what is believed. At Angkor, geometry is not only structure, it is story, message, and meaning cast in stone for centuries to read. Beneath the jungle canopies of Cambodia, the stone towers of Angkor Wat rise like a dream made solid. For centuries, the world has marveled at this immense complex, the greatest monument of the Khmer Empire, paying homage to the god-kings whose names adorn the chronicles of history. Yet, hidden behind the legends are the true architects of the cosmos, the ingenious Khmer designers, mathematicians, and engineers who shaped stone into a mirror of the universe. It is easy to forget that no king, no matter how divine, could single-handedly realize such grandeur. These temples, from Angkor Wat to Bayon, were feats of collective intellect, massive undertakings in an age without metal scaffolding, precision surveying tools, or written blueprints in the modern sense. Yet the ancient Khmer built on a scale that defied the limitations of their era, weaving cosmic patterns into every arch, corridor, and tower. Consider the astonishing intellectual demands their work imposed. Every block of sandstone, ferried from distant quarries, was part of a vision that extended beyond mere symmetry or size. The Khmer architects calibrated temple orientations to align with the movements of the sun, the moon, and the planets. The central tower of Angkor Wat, for instance, forms an axis that points to the equinox sunrise, while the temple's concentric galleries echo the cycles of the heavens. Bas-reliefs were counted, distances paced, all in accordance with sacred numbers rooted in Hindu and Buddhist cosmology. Achieving such precision required a deep understanding of geometry and astronomy, not as abstract sciences, but as living disciplines folded seamlessly into the daily toil of stonecutters and surveyors. Without telescopes or compasses, they tracked the shadows cast across water, measured the rising and setting of stars, and embedded this knowledge into foundations that would endure 1,000 monsoons. Why was this cosmic integration so painstakingly important? For the Khmer, to build was to manifest order out of chaos, to recreate Mount Meru, the mythic Axis Mundi, at the heart of their realm. Their temples were not merely places of worship. They were diagrams of the universe, conduits to the divine. To guide the king's soul or channel blessing was, perhaps, only truly possible by capturing the harmony of the cosmos in stone. This vision demanded more than technical skill. It called for a marriage of sacred belief and practical genius, a cultural will to carve the eternal into the earth itself. Today, as we trace the shadow of spires across ancient courtyards, we glimpse the anonymous minds who, brick by measured brick, gave shape to the cosmos, leaving behind not only monuments, but also the echo of their quest to unite heaven and earth. There are few places on Earth where stone seems to breathe with cosmic purpose, and Angkor Wat is among them. At first glance, its vast courtyards, grand causeways, and elegant towers inspire awe, but beneath this visual grandeur lies a matrix of geometry so precise, so intentional, that some believe it to be a literal bridge between the earthly and the celestial, the so-called divine matrix. Let's begin with the fundamentals of this sacred geometry. When the Khmer architects designed Angkor Wat, they weren't just building a temple, they were encoding cosmic principles into stone. One of the most striking examples is their use of the golden ratio, that elegant, irrational number roughly 1 to 1.618 that appears in nature from seashells to galaxies. Walk around Angkor Wat, and you notice proportions that feel uncannily harmonious. The central sanctuary's dimensions, the length of the outer galleries, even the stepped pyramids, are all organized so the ratio between their parts echoes the golden ratio, creating an unconscious sense of balance and order that hints at something beyond the material world. But the geometry doesn't end there. The temple's main axis is meticulously aligned to the west, rather than the east, which is rare for Hindu temples. This isn't arbitrary. On the spring equinox, the sun rises directly over the central sanctuary, an alignment that signals Angkor Wat's deep astronomical awareness. At solstices and equinoxes, shadows and light fall along corridors so exactly that the passage of time itself is encoded into the temple's bones. Still more remarkable is the mapping of the ancient Sumeru cosmology onto the layout. According to Hindu and Buddhist belief, Mount Sumeru was the Axis Mundi, the center point of the physical and spiritual universe. The soaring central tower of Angkor Wat represents this sacred peak, while successive enclosures and moats form concentric rectangles, each symbolizing surrounding continents and oceans, an earthly blueprint for the universe itself. Detailed cosmological diagrams, mandalas, and yantras are silently embedded in the stone plan. The 5 towers echo the quintuple peaks of Sumeru, while the galleries and courtyards define nested squares and rectangles, creating a fractal pattern that recapitulates divine geometry on every scale. Put together, Angkor Wat and its sister temples become more than just monuments. They form a web, a matrix, that was carefully constructed to resonate with cosmic forces. Through golden ratios, astral alignments, and cosmological diagrams, these structures act as portals, places where the boundaries between heaven and earth grow thin, and the soul can touch the eternal order at the heart of reality. This is the true genius of the divine matrix, a union of mathematics, myth, and faith immortalized in stone. There are few places on Earth where stone seems to breathe with cosmic purpose, and Angkor Wat is among them. At first glance, its vast courtyards, grand causeways, and elegant towers inspire awe, but beneath this visual grandeur lies a matrix of geometry so precise, so intentional, that some believe it to be a literal bridge between the earthly and the celestial, the so-called divine matrix. Let's begin with the fundamentals of this sacred geometry. When the Khmer architects designed Angkor Wat, they weren't just building a temple, they were encoding cosmic principles into stone. One of the most striking examples is their use of the golden ratio, that elegant, irrational number roughly 1 to 1.618 that appears in nature from seashells to galaxies. Walk around Angkor Wat and you notice proportions that feel uncannily harmonious. The central sanctuary's dimensions, the length of the outer galleries, even the stepped pyramids, are all organized so the ratio between their parts echoes the golden ratio, creating an unconscious sense of balance and order that hints at something beyond the material world. But the geometry doesn't end there. The temple's main axis is meticulously aligned to the west, rather than the east, which is rare for Hindu temples. This isn't arbitrary. On the spring equinox, the sun rises directly over the central sanctuary, an alignment that signals Angkor Wat's deep astronomical awareness. At solstices and equinoxes, shadows and light fall along corridors so exactly that the passage of time itself is encoded into the temple's bones. Still more remarkable is the mapping of the ancient Sumeru cosmology onto the layout. According to Hindu and Buddhist belief, Mount Sumeru was the axis mundi, the center point of the physical and spiritual universe. The soaring central tower of Angkor Wat represents this sacred peak, while successive enclosures and moats form concentric rectangles, each symbolizing surrounding continents and oceans, an earthly blueprint for the universe itself. Detailed cosmological diagrams, mandalas, and yantras are silently embedded in the stone plan. The 5 towers echo the quintuple peaks of Sumeru, while the galleries and courtyards define nested squares and rectangles, creating a fractal pattern that recapitulates divine geometry on every scale. Put together, Angkor Wat and its sister temples become more than just monuments. They form a web, a matrix, that was carefully constructed to resonate with cosmic forces. Through golden ratios, astral alignments, and cosmological diagrams, these structures act as portals, places where the boundaries between heaven and earth grow thin, and the soul can touch the eternal order at the heart of reality. This is the true genius of the divine matrix, a union of mathematics, myth, and faith immortalized in stone.